Hey guys, insight number 4. Oh, sorry. Insight number 4. Wobbly table here with the camera on it. Okay, we're all settled now. 1 Nephi 19, liken all scriptures unto us. So that's the scripture mastery that I was talking about. It's 1 Nephi 19:23. So the first part of this is after they're all settled in the promised land. Nephi makes plates and continues to record and prophesy of Christ and his brethren's future. So all the descendants they will have. Talks about what's going to go on there. He speaks a lot of what his purpose is in writing, the things he's going to write and where he's going to put them, so that it's very clear what the intention is. Again, no fluff writing. I'm not going to write stuff that's, what I had for lunch today. If I'm going to write it down, it's taking me a while. I had to make the plates and then carve into them. This is no easy thing. The things that are written here are important. They're for you to understand. Please, please embrace them and learn them. So I love that about him. That's the kind of books I like to read. I don't really like fluff and nonsense. I read fiction, absolutely, but I want a good story with a good message and sort of elements of, like, if it's too fluff, I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. It's a busy world. I want something good out of it. If I'm going to spend my time invested in something, I want something good out of it. Even if it's a little thing, I want something positive out of it. So that's why I love the Book of Mormon so much. I love all scripture, but there's some that you love more than others. I particularly like the writings of Nephi, for example, and Moroni. They're both very no-fluff writers. They took the time to put this down and the time to bring it to us. Mormon took the time to collate them all to make it good. Then it's really important. So spend some time in it. So I like that. But he writes of Christ coming and his visitation to those on the Isles of the Sea, being that I think he must have known that's where he was. Obviously, he knew he wasn't in Jerusalem or in that part of the world. They'd travelled for long enough in one direction that he's pretty sure we're counted as the Isles of the Sea, even though it's a huge landmass, which they didn't quite know at that point. But Isles of the Sea. So not Jerusalem. Not a mainland of the Holy Land, not that part, but that includes all the Isles of the Sea. Yes, and New Zealand and Australia and Japan and the whole things, all the world that's not Jerusalem-based, really. At Jerusalem, Egypt area of the world, which is pretty much the Middle East these days, and into Africa, Arabia, maybe not all the way down to Africa, but that bit that they knew about, older part of the world. So, in verse 18, what's the purpose? So, Nephi says, "And I, Nephi, have written these things unto my people, that perhaps I might persuade them that they would remember the Lord their Redeemer." What's the purpose of his writings? To educate us about Christ, to help us remember and recall how good Jesus is and that he's there with us. Here's my experiences with him. He's saying, I have experienced this. This is what I've learned. I was taught this by my parents. I learned for myself, and I want to share with you so you know. I'm teaching my children. I am teaching anyone who will come and listen to me. These are the things I've experienced. This is what I know Christ to be. I really would love you to get to know him too. That's the purpose. So what would our writings or recordings let people know? If you've got a journal, if you record things, what would they let know? I would hope that people in years back go, oh, who is this Lorraine person? And they can look back and see all the times I've testified of Christ, taught of Christ, spoken of Christ, that whether it's my artwork that I do or the photos that I take or the things I write down or the books that I have, all those things that I have a legacy of leaving that will live long after I'm gone, or even if people were to first meet me and look me up online, what are they going to find? What would our writings, recordings let people know? Good question, right? 23, verse 23 of chapter 19. "And I did read many things unto them which are written in the books of Moses, but that I might more fully persuade them to believe in the Lord their Redeemer. I did write unto them that which was written by the prophet Isaiah. For I did liken all scriptures unto us, that it might be for our profit and learning." Which the good portion of 2nd Nephi has quotings from Isaiah where he's teaching them. There's a little bit of history and story in there, but it's about half balanced. But there's a lot of Isaiah quoted. The next 2 chapters you'll see after this are Isaiah quoted. So not exactly the same as the book of Isaiah, but quoted. Like, he's not saying this is what Isaiah wrote. He's like, I am quoting Isaiah. So it's going to look a little different. It's like if you're quoting and summarizing a conference talk, you'll get it near on, but not exactly what the person said, but it's still got the same thing. So, liken the scriptures unto us. It's for our profit and learning, our gain and our learning. These accounts are for all of us to learn from. So how do you liken the scriptures to you, and what do you learn from these words? So how do you take things in the scriptures and liken them to you? I try and do that all the time. That's my whole purpose in being here and teaching, is to not just expound to you lots of history and what you can read for yourself. It's to encourage you to really look at, okay, again, here's a story of Nephi building a ship. What happened to him? How did he accomplish it? What did he know? And what can I learn from this process that he went through? Or I'm Moses and I'm going to lead Israelites across the desert for 40 years and struggle with teaching them things as simple as the 10 Commandments. What did I learn from that, and what can you learn from that process? And that's what we're all about here. So when I'll say those things happen and I ask questions, how does that apply to us? What is it about that particular account that is included there that we need to know? What is it about Lehi and his family traveling the wilderness that we need to know? Because we're not literally packing up in tents and leaving into a wilderness. We do it in different ways. My friend recently, as a refugee, fled Belarus and is in Germany. Now, she didn't travel with camels and tents in a desert, but they still fled what was a place that's like vastly crumbling in the midst of a war to get to a safer place. So in that, very similar to what Lehi did, they left a place that was going to crumble with war, which happens in 2 Kings, to go to a land that the Lord told them to. Now, the land that Lehi went to was unknown because they had never been there before. Now, the land that my friend's going to, they did know because they've been on holiday there and they have family there, which they're very blessed to be able to then get refugee status and go and immigrate there. They also had to learn German, by the way. They did that. She's multi-talented with languages. It worked in their favour. Again, the Lord prepared a way long before they needed it to be able to get there. So that's where they are. But they could learn similarities from that journey. Some of their children didn't want to go, aren't too happy about it, don't like where they are at the moment, like it's not ideal for them. Nothing like Laman and Lemuel, but still some of the similar things. So there's a lot of things that they could learn in that journey. A lot of the things I've been able to learn in my journey. There's places where I've been that have been like, how is this improving from where I was? Well, maybe not straight away, but it was getting there. So there's a lot of things we can take from just that one story, that one aspect of the story, and yet there's so many different ones. We can look at all the different characters and what they went through, how they felt and what they did, how they reacted, and like, how am I doing that? Could I be better? Could I have more of the characteristics of that person? Could I have less characteristics of that person because that one didn't go so well for them? When the Lord asks me to do something, can I be less like Jonah and not run away, but go and do what he needs me to do? From Old Testament stories. So there's so many things we can look at from these stories, from the parables that Jesus taught, from all of the stuff that can apply to our lives now. And that's likening the scriptures unto us. So, what do you learn from these words? How do you do it? How do you pull it in? And what's your favorite? What's your favorite likening the scriptures unto you moment? There's a few for me, and I don't really have time to share them all, and I've shared them as I've taught. But what's yours? I'd love to know, and I'm sure others would too. So drop them in the comments. All right, hang around. We're going to briefly talk about what happens in the next 3 chapters. I'll see you there.